In this video, I'm going to show you how to find the equation of a line through 2 points. Now, I'm going to be using this form of a linear equation, this model, y equals mx plus b. It's known as slope-intercept form. In this form, the slope is m and the y-intercept is b. So I want you to kind of look at it this way. All right, the m and the b are like variables. They're like a box. These are the two things that we need to find. If I want to write an equation, I need m and I need b. I need the slope and I need the y-intercept. So, for example, let's say somebody told me that, hey, the slope is 2/3. And say if I found out that the y-intercept is 7. Then the slope goes here, and the y-intercept goes here. And now I have an equation, y equals 2/3 x plus 7. So just hold in your mind, all I need is the slope and the y-intercept, and I can plug them in, and that's my equation. Okay? So, what if they don't give me the slope and they do not give me the y-intercept? Well, what do? Well, if I have 2 points, I can easily calculate the slope. So here's how I go about finding the slope. Okay, in fact, first let me set up my little model here. Because ultimately our goal is to do this. You know we're doing y is equal to mx plus b. mx plus b, right? So like I showed you a moment ago, we need these two things. We need the m and we need the b. All right, if I have those two things, I can just fill them in and I'll have my answer. All right, so first I'm going after the slope. Okay, so over here I'm just going to write find slope m. Okay, how do I find slope m? Well, the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So basically y minus y over x minus x. So in this case, that's going to be, okay, so y2 minus y1, so that would be 3 minus 2. x2 minus, x2 minus x1. That's going to be negative 2 minus 0. All right, so that's going to be 1 over negative 2. All right, 3 minus 2 is 1. Negative 2 minus nothing is still negative 2. So there is my slope right there. So I can go ahead and fill that in. Negative 1/2. That's my slope. So now all I need is my y-intercept. I need the b value. So how are we going to do that? Well, in this case, they actually gave us the y-intercept. Okay, so I don't actually get to show you. So I'm just going to say find b. Okay, find the y-intercept. Think about it, guys. If we were talking about the y-intercept, understand that the y-intercept is the place where a line crosses over the y-axis. So imagine that I had a line that did something like this. Okay. Bam! All right, imagine that this is my line. And so it's crossing the y-axis right here. What are the coordinates of that point? All right, that point would be 0, 3. All right, so you can see that it's crossing the line at 3, so that's why my b value is 3. But notice that the x value is 0. That makes sense because we're on the x-axis. So that means that the y-intercept is always going to be at the point 0, comma something, 0, comma b. So if they gave me a point that already has 0 for the x value, guess what? All right, so if I've got 0, comma 2, that means that this is the b value right here. So that tells me that b is equal to 2. Okay, so if they give me 0, comma something, that is the b value already. So fine, I know that the b value is 2, so I can go ahead and fill that in. So I'm just taking the boxes away, and so the answer is y equals -1/2 x plus 2. That is my equation. Okay, so again, we're given 2 points. So here's my strategy. I need to find the slope. Okay, I need to find the y-intercept. And then I can write the equation. You know what, let me leave a little bit more space for this part. Find the y-intercept, which is b. And then I can write the equation. Okay, and of course the slope is m. I'll just squeeze that in real quick. So let me start with the end. Let me begin with the end in mind. The equation is of the form y equals mx plus b. So keeping that in mind, all I need is m, which will go in this box, and then b, which will go in this box. That's all I need is m and b to write the equation. So that's why I'm finding m, and then I'm finding b, so I can fill those two things in. All right, so let's do it. Okay, how do I find m? Well, the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that means the slope is going to be, okay, -2 minus 1. Okay, that's y2 minus y1. And then 3 minus 4. x2 minus x1. So what's that going to give me? This is going to give me -3 over -1. So that is simply +3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So the slope is 3. So I can go ahead and put 3 right here for m. All right, now it's time to find the y-intercept b. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, let's go back to the model y equals mx plus b. In order to find b using this equation, we need to have a y and m and an x. We need all three of these things. Well, we have m right here, so that just leaves x and y. Well, every ordered pair is an x and a y. So I have my choice. I can either use the first point or the second point. I'm going to go ahead and pick the first point. I'll use this x and this y. All right, for right now, I'm going to ignore this point. If I had chosen the other point, I would still get the same answer. So the y value is 1 that I'm going to use. The slope is 3, that's the m. The x is 4, and I'm trying to find b. So 1 is equal to 12 plus b. Subtract the 12, and you get negative 11. All right? So b is negative 11. So now I can put the b into the equation right here, negative 11. So this is basically the equation. I'm just going to write it without the boxes and without putting plus negative. Instead of plus negative, always just put minus. So this will be y is equal to 3x minus 11. All right, so here again, we need to find the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. And when you're talking about an equation of a line, you need to find the slope, m, you need to find the y-intercept, b, and then you can write the equation. Okay, now remember, when you write the equation, we're talking about y equals mx plus b. So that's going to be like y is equal to something x plus something. We just need to find m and b. That's what we're going to do here and here. So let's start by finding the slope m. Remember that the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y minus y. Well, that's strange. Uh-oh, this is a special case. 5 minus 5, that is 0. Okay, and then 3 minus 0. You know, I should be writing this down. Okay, y minus y. So that's 5 minus 5 over 3 minus 0. So that is 0 over 3. So the slope is 0. Please note that when the slope is 0, that means you have a horizontal line. So if you just want to picture it, we're talking about a line that goes like this. It's a horizontal line. Anyway, they gave us the y-intercept right here. Okay, the y-intercept is always 0 comma something. Okay, it's always 0 comma b. So here they gave us 0 comma 5. So that tells me that b is equal to 5. All right, so they just gave me the y-intercept right here. Okay, so look, the slope is 0, so I could put 0 in for the slope. It's a little bit strange, but I could put 0 in for m. The y-intercept is 5, so I could put this 5 in for b. All right, now, this is a little bit interesting because 0 times x is just 0. So this term is really just going to go away because of the 0. And that's going to leave me with y equals 5. So that is going to be the final answer. It will simply be y equals 5. And just please notice that anytime you have a horizontal line, the equation will always be y equals a number. If we had a vertical line, all right, so horizontal line is always y equals something. If I had a vertical line, it would be x equals something, like maybe x equals 5. All right, but this is a horizontal line, so y equals 5. Okay, so this is another special case. I can see because of the x values are the same. So watch out. Now, if you did not notice that this was a special case, you would go ahead and set it up like normal. And you would be thinking, okay, I've got to find the slope, find m, all right? And then you'd be like, I got to find b, all right, the y-intercept. And then once you had that, you'd be thinking, then we can write the equation. But in the process of doing the first step, you're going to figure out that this is a special case where the rest of this won't really make sense. Because when you go to find the slope, we know that the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to be 6 minus negative 6 over 5 minus 5. Okay, so that's going to be 6 minus negative 6 is really the same as 6 plus 6. So I've got 6 plus 6 over 5 minus 5. So that's 12 over 0. You can't divide by 0. This is undefined. Okay, or sometimes they'll say no slope. All right, this is a big no, no. You can't divide by 0. Okay, now, that happens when you have a vertical line. So when you have undefined, that means that you're looking at a vertical line. Okay, so we're going to skip this whole part about finding the y-intercept, because that will not apply when we have a vertical line. All right, the line is just straight up and down, like blam. Okay, now in fact, think about it. Okay, imagine that this is my graph. Okay, imagine this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm picking 5 because I see the x values are both at 5. So that means I have a vertical line at 5. So here's my vertical line at 5. Boom. That's my line. Is this line ever going to touch the y-axis? No. So there is no b value. All right, that's why I'm skipping this step. All right, and also, when we go to write the equation, you know how normally we will go y equals mx plus b, yay. Well, this doesn't really work out for vertical lines, so I'm going to skip that. Okay, when you have a vertical line, the equation is always x equals a number. Okay, that's it. X equals something. How do I know what the number is? Well, just look at the x value. I have 5 and 5. So guess what? X equals 5 is the equation. So that's it. Okay, they want us to find the equation of the line containing segment BC. All right, and they've been kind enough to draw it for us. So here's the line containing segment BC. So as always, it goes down like this. First we find the slope, then we find the y-intercept, then we can write the equation, because the equation, using the model y equals mx plus b, of course, becomes y equals something x plus something. All right, and then we just substitute in the m and the b. So let's do it. Starting with the slope. Well, when we have the graph, all we have to really do is pick points that land right where the grid lines meet. So here are 2 points right on the grid lines. If I want to move from left to right, I would wind up going down to right 1. Okay, you know that slope is rise over run. Okay, this down 2, that's negative 2, that's the rise. And this right 3, that's the run. So the slope is negative 2/3. Again, at a glance, we knew the slope would be negative because it is downhill. Always double check that. So we have the slope. So really, we could go ahead and put negative 2/3 in right now. Now we need the y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So it crosses right here. This is the b value, and that value is -1. So the b value is -1. So that means I really can just put -1 in for b. And that's it. This is the equation. Of course, I will clean it up a little bit. I'm not going to put any boxes, of course. And I'm not even going to put plus, negative. So at this point, you should be comfortable with the fact that instead of plus negative, we just put minus. So this will be negative 2/3 x minus 1 for the final answer. Okay. Now, so focus your eyes on line AB, which I will just highlight a little bit if I may. Okay, so, oh, that's a little bit bolder than I expected. Let me see if I can make this a little bit thinner. Okay, all right. So AB is the line that we are supposed to be finding an equation of, this blue line. All right, so we're going to do what we always do. We start by finding the slope. All right, the slope m. And then we find the y-intercept, which is b. And then we can write the equation. All right, and of course the equation is going to be in the form y equals something x plus something, where this is going to be the m and this is going to be the b. Okay, so we're just going to get ready for that. Boom. And boom. So we're just going to, all we need is the slope and the y-intercept, and we are good. So let's start with the slope. So this point A is definitely on the, it's right where the grid lines meet. So I'm looking for another point that is decisively right where the grid lines meet. I'm thinking maybe this one. I know that point B has to be right where the grid lines meet. And so this, as I go from one point to the next, let me test it out. This seems to go down 4, right 1. So we talk rise over run. So that would be -4 over 1. So the slope is down 4, right 1, which is simply -4. I'm just going to double check by looking at the next point. All right, if I go down 4 again and right 1, that's how I get to point B. So again, it's down 4, right 1. So the slope is definitely -4. So I could go ahead and put my -4 in for the slope right here. Now I need the B, which is the y-intercept. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more tricky because this goes off the graph. So finding the y-intercept, I'm going to have to actually do a little bit of math here. Okay, in fact, I might move this down to make a little bit more space. Okay. Now, to find the y-intercept, here's what we do. We have y equals mx plus b. If I want to find b, I need to have I need to have y, m, and x. So what I can do is, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Look at point A, for example. Notice that point A is the point 1, let's see, 5. 1, 5. Now that is an x and a y. So I can substitute that in. So that's going to give me 5, because that's y, is equal to, the slope is -4, so I could put -4. X is 1 plus b. Okay? So this is really just -4, right? -4 times 1 is just -4. So I could add 4 to both sides right now. And that's going to give me 9. 9 equals b. So this is my y-intercept, 9. So I could go ahead now and put 9 right here. So it makes sense. This graph only goes up to 6, and the y-intercept is at 9. So that's up here somewhere. So it makes sense that it didn't fit on the graph because it's 9. It's off the graph. But anyway, now we have our answer. All right, just clean it up a little bit. We have y equals -4x plus 9. And that is the final answer. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.